Ethos of Silence.
A veteran podcast aims to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster community support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys.
Welcome.
So
I hear you, Miss No Commute, so you don't watch my content.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Real?
what else I got is I dropped that mandatory fun day one, so that should be interesting. That should definitely get some backlash. All right, Ethos of Silence, and we are back. No, I'm good. So, Chuck, you were jumping into fixing the two-party system and Chuck's political campaign. Where do I vote?
God. First and foremost, man. Okay, I'm a Republican, and as a black man, that's almost like, in certain circles, it's the worst thing I could be, right?
So, so how many veterans do we have in the country?
Oh.
How many do we have in the country? Because you're talking about fixing the two-party system, right?
1.3. Yes.
So there's 6 million. 6.5 million veterans that are at least there's at least 6.5 million veterans that are in everybody who's in the actual VA benefits percentage, right? 26% of them, something like that, is 100% disabled, and then the numbers go down from there. But the number of veterans that are enrolled in veteran benefits, so they utilize the VA, they utilize all the other veteran benefits and stuff like that. I'm not talking about anybody who's just taking out a VA home loan. I'm talking about literal veteran benefits, right? That's about 6.5 of us. 6.5 million people voting somewhere. Like, if we all registered to vote in some little fucking podunk town, we all, somebody buys an apartment complex, we each change our ID to where we have an ID to where we're in that town and we can legally vote for that town. Let's just all go out to California. They don't check IDs anyway, and roll up and vote.
Ooh, hold on. First of all, we're not picking California, okay? We need somewhere.
No. Okay. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we can physically go to every state where there are no voter ID laws and vote in every election. We can have a bus of 6 million people going around the country just voting all day long. Like, you could literally create change and impact that way. So now that I'm talking like that, what's stopping somebody from loading a bus full of fucking, you got 6 Greyhound buses, so you pull up with 600 fucking votes to all, because you shove 100 immigrants in each one of the things, and you vote at every little poll with all of them.
Oh my God! First of all, you probably weren't supposed to say that out loud. Somebody's gonna have that idea now. Look, first and foremost,
Chuck, calm down. Not say shit out loud. I got a bunch of stuff I shouldn't be saying out loud, but it's my podcast. I do what I want. I'm a Marine. 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 I got to check with my wife, but I do what I want.
I'm all for it. Well, I'm all for it. Ooh, jeez. I'm all for it. Look, this is my thing.
Yeah, so fixing the two-party system, what you got?
I think nowadays people are so quick. We treat this two-party system like we're treating sports teams. And, we're either a diehard Democrat or a diehard Republican. I don't agree with everything.
So which one's the sports team that burns down the city after they win?
Everyone does it in one way or another, man. Like in one way or another, they all have their drawbacks. I feel like I don't want to be locked into any one thing. Right? When it comes to guns, I'm as red as can fucking be, right? But when it comes to things like a woman's right to do with whatever her body is, I'll turn blue like a mother. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I don't know why, but it seems like now it's almost like, oh my gosh, if you don't lean all the way right, or you don't lean all the way left, or if you're not the most liberal person or the most conservative person, you're doing something wrong. I've never been a person of absolutes, right? You can feel one way about something one day, and then turn around the next day and feel a completely different way. And I honestly truly believe that we should be making. You mentioned something about the emotional piece in our last conversation about the emotional side. That's why you win with emotion and lose with logic. I think we need to get back to that emotional side as far as when we're voting, and not just voting at the federal level. You know, you got to do it at the state and local levels. Really, you have to vote with what's in your best interest for you and your family members around you. I think we start there to fixing that two-party system. I think we get the right elected officials, not just what they put in front of us. Because to be honest, Joe Biden for a second term, trash. Kamala, whatever, I can't remember her name is right now, was not it. And Trump wasn't either. But the lesser of two evils, I guess.
But you can't tell me that our system just has the lesser two evils and we can't come up with a better way than what we've got to have people running for offices and handling stuff and everything else. Like could
you imagine a veteran league?
Well, I mean, I want to say it, but I mean, watching JD doing these damn puppet shows with Iran and all the stuff they got going on over there, like it's
embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. Yes, it's embarrassing. That's just what it is. It's embarrassing. You know, I could see a military person doing it, and you've mentioned the fact of, like military taking orders from somebody who has not served or not done any of that. But I mean, that's why they have a Secretary of Defense, but also Trump ran off General Mattis, which in my eyes is the biggest, baddest fucking Marine in my lifetime, from being his Secretary of Defense. Like whenever you want to do something and the general who ran the majority of the war in Iraq for the first part of the fucking 20 years we were there. So for like the first 10 years of the war in Iraq, he mostly ran all the Marines at fucking the tip. And I mean, the entire time we were in Iraq, I mean, we've lost probably a little under 7,000, a little over 7,000 troops in combat. And we've lost more of that coming home to suicide, drinking yourself to death, pills, riding a motorcycle through a Walmart. Like, people have done some dumbass shit trying to deal with the issues that are going on in their head, the issues with everything else. And it's hard to wrap your head around just a politician being able to be the one who says this is what's going to happen, and the president having this much power. I do think that we have one of the better systems in the world for handling things and ensuring that every dumb idea has a check and balance to not get pushed through the pipeline, but that doesn't change the fact of what we have going on. And I'm a big believer that unless we physically do something to fix it, there's no reason to talk about it. Like if you're not actually going to the polls, if you're not actually voting, if you're not actually doing all that stuff, you shouldn't have an opinion on it. I mean, the problem is that so many people are disengaged from everything. And if you're not engaged in something, your kids may not even know it exists. So then you create a household that doesn't know how to function on different parts of society. It's like I'll have all the teenagers come over here, sleep, play games, play board games, hang out, and then trying to have them all pick up after themselves or, just pull their own weight just a little bit. And I know they're all guests in my house, and it's nice, and I enjoy them, and I love them to death. And I am slowly trying to teach them how to be grown men and take care of, their individual things whenever we have conversations with all of them. I love whenever they want to have a conversation with me and grow a little bit and figure stuff out. And I want them to have a solid adult that they can call that's not going to be mad. Like my greatest accomplishment will be the fact and I'm there with my son, hopefully I get there with my daughter one day, is that when stuff happens, they call me for a sound, logical way to attempt to mess with what's going on, right? Like, my little brother called me today about, just stuff around the house and this and that, the other. Have you ever messed with this stuff? Have you messed with this stuff with insurance? Have you messed with this stuff with this? That takes me back to being in the Marine Corps and being, this sergeant who's running the shop, and I got little Lance Corporals buying houses, and they're like, hey man, I got a leak coming through my roof. Can you come take a look at it, or what could cause it, and all this other different stuff, So then just getting to the root cause of what's going on and trying to help society better itself is the type of people we need to let into the country. And the two-party system, it's broken, but it is the best thing we have going. And I don't know what to replace it with, because like my brain's not big enough to think that far ahead. But I mean, we have secure crypto stuff now to where politicians can literally vote from Louisiana, so they could stay in Louisiana. Like, there's no reason for a politician from, West Virginia to be making politician rates the same rates as the politician from California. Like, those are two completely different states, two completely different economies, two completely different sets of people. I think they should have to make the medium income of what their state is, and their retirement plan should be from the state, and all this other different stuff. So, and they can only serve so many terms for, put term limits on them so they're not in there forever. But also, if I was the senator from Kentucky and I only made a medium income of what my state was, I would be doing as much as I could possibly to be able to get all these big jobs and plants and everybody else into my state so I can make some money. Because if I raise the mean income of my state, I raise my salary. And turns out money motivates people. It corrupts people, but it motivates people. There's no reason for us to be paying for all these people to travel back and forth to D.C. all the time. We have things called Zooms. We have secure voting. We have all these other different things. They can go to their state capital and do different stuff from there. I don't understand why we are so inefficient in areas where we can improve efficiency. But that's just coming from somebody who, you do something and you have a CDI overcheck everything you do. Even if you and me are working together, I'd go work on one job, you work on the other, then you come back, check my work, I go back and check yours. It's like, even though we know we do flawless work, the fact that having somebody come back in an avionic aspect and overchecking all your stuff before you close the panel, before you close everything up, because dude, I had laser vision, I was fucking one thing. I'm in there trying to fix this system. I give a fuck less what I find out about all these other different systems, all this other stuff going on, Unless I know ahead of time that I'm looking into multiple things, then I'll be looking at those certain wire harness. But, until it comes time to actually like doing an inspection and look inside the panel and see everything, you can easily miss other things that need to be tidied up and need to be fixed, because this aircraft has been poking holes in the sky for 200 hours worth of flights before anybody else has ever opened this panel, looked in it, and you're opening the panel, looking in it to fix what you need to fix, shoot the wires you need to fix, and everything else. But like, you're worried about troubleshooting your gripe, not fixing, every little thing and being methodical about it until you know what your gripe is and fixed, and then you can go back and do it. So, I mean, the only way to fix something is to get involved and fix it, and then you have to physically be the one who gets involved, not try and task people out to be the ones who are involved for you. Until you physically put your hands on something, it is impossible to fix it the way that my mind works. But what do you think some of the fixes? Or disagree with my statements?
I think when it comes to fixing it, we have to make it to where Congress isn't the one. Okay, we empower Congress to make the laws by which we abide by. Okay, it seems like to me the only time that Congress can ever get on one page is right around times when it comes time for election, or when it's come time for their pay raise, or when it comes time for them to decide when they're going on recess, so on and so forth. You go to your job, you clock in for your job, and if you don't meet quota, you don't get certain things done, you're gone. It seems like the individuals in these positions of power, you know, like Biden. Biden was there for like 20 years, 30 years. How are these individuals holding on to these jobs at these positions at these ridiculous pay rates and all the extra bonuses and things that they get, right? And not accomplishing anything. If you're going to run on fixing this, and at the end of your term, it's not fixed, then you need to be gone. That's how I feel about it, right? Because if you got a 40-hour work week and in 40 hours you got to get this project done, project's not done. Okay, cool. First time reprimand, second time, they start doing paperwork. Third time you're gone. I just feel like these elected officials we put them in the places that we put them because we like them, right? Because they're shiny, or they make a lot of promises, or they got a great smile, or a good story, or whatever. But once we elect these individuals, they then, go off and do whatever benefits them. It's not just Nancy Pelosi's, even though she's made a ridiculous amount of money in the stock market. They're all doing it. Right, they're all getting into these positions, and like you said, you're talking about like they should be incentivized, right? They should get paid at what the medium income is for the area. That way, it incentivizes them to, bring more stuff in and do so on and so forth. But you're also hearing about these backroom deals. I think every time they vote, it should be on the record. It should literally be every time they sit down and push that button, yes or no, we should be able to see we should be able to go online and say, hey, what did my congressman vote for today? So what did they accomplish today?
I'll one up you on that. I mean, all bills should be a single page for what they're voting yes or no for. Those records should be clear and obvious for you to be able to look and see what your politician voted on and how they voted on each one of these things. And I'm sure there's something that exists, but there's like 700 pages worth of bills and all the other different stuff to see who was for it and who was against it, and all of it exists, but it needs to be simplified. Because if a bill doesn't rate to be passed on its merits alone, it should be tied into a veteran package or hid on page 674 of a 3,000-page document of all the things that they're trying to pass in one big, beautiful bill. Yeah.
I think another thing is bills should be written in a common language.
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, what the military manuals we worked on, they said they were written at an 8th grade level, and the sophistication of the electronics we're working on are far surpass an 8th grade level. So if bills had to be written on an 8th grade level of competence, then it would clarify what that bill actually means, and it would also streamline the Supreme Court process of looking at a bill and seeing if it is constitutionally okay, if it's legal and binding to exist.
I mean, I think that's how we're going to start to fix the system. We got to impose the limits at which these people are operating. I got it. They got a great campaign or a great slogan, or some scandal comes out and you end up finding out that the person they're running against had an affair or whatever the case might be. Like, these people, first and foremost, they're not perfect. Let's just get that out the way, right? They're not infallible, right? I think what we need to do is an election should be much like a job interview, right? There should be a debate. They should stand up in front, and it shouldn't be a slinging back and forth of dirt. Hey, this is my track record. This is what I'm capable of. This is my plan moving forward. I'm tired of politicians saying, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do that with no real plan. You know what? Submit a plan. If you're going to run for state, local, or even presidential, where's your plan? Right? If you're my boss and you're you're hiring me to do a job, hey, this is the job, how are you going to accomplish this?
Well, also, right? These are the wickets that we're going to measure if you're actually accomplishing it or not.
Yeah.
And this is the system to be able to replace people.
Yes, because at the end of the day, right, if my governor, who I elected, says that everyone's going to be able to, at the end of their term, he's going to go and he's going to make it to where everyone can carry legally, Okay, cool. At the end of the term, we look at it and we go, hey, what did he actually accomplish? Where is that bar at? Because it seems like the only time anything gets done is right when they first show up and right before they leave office when they're trying to get reelected again. Right?
Yeah.
Everything that happens in between, man, nothing. You don't hear a peep. Whatever.
I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not trying to do their job and trying to do all these other different things, but the fact that they've never even brought a bill to the floor to try and address what they have going on, like they need to tell us their plan that when they get elected, they plan on dropping all of these bills on the floor to try and change out what's going on, and you need to be able to ask them about that bill for them to competently say what they want it to do, and you'd be able to look at the English and be like, yeah, you're telling me this, but it's saying that. So we're at a confusing state here of being able to do anything. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for clarity and transparency.
If you're working in the Senate or the House, there should be cameras. I should be able to see that floor any day or time of night. There should be a camera sitting there with.
So here's the other thing. If and when the politician talks to the media, they should always be talking as if they're under oath and held to the letter of the law for what they said. And if they're found to be lying based on what they've said, they need to be replaced. They need to be fired because they lied on an official evaluation of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it's okay for them to say, the American people do not have the clearance for me to go into detail of what's happening here, but basically, and then have a little overview of what's going on, and you cover your ass that you can't go into the details because you're on the security committee or all these other different committees, but yeah, I mean, them speaking and being treated as if they're under oath and knowing that they're going to lose their job and their position and the prestige, and also if they get caught lying and they lose their job, they can no longer run for any public type office, and they can go to a trial to where they can stand in front of the Supreme Court and say, I said this, here's the media reaction to it, and they can be the judge and jury and executioner for what's going on with it. But I mean, there needs to be a system to where if you're this Eskimo ice salesman and you can sell ice to an Eskimo, that you don't need to keep standing in front of the Supreme Court twice a year for them to be okay with you just because you're able to bullshit your way out of a situation, because there's no doubt that every politician is a smooth talker and they're articulate at being able to paint a beautiful picture with their words.
Have you met our president?
Yeah, he's smooth. He paints beautiful pictures of bombs exploding for the 4th of July,
Like a bumbling. See, this is why I can't be on the podcast, because I'm going to say what I really think.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the president should have to speak under oath as well with all of the different things that are going on whenever he addresses the media. I'm not saying that he needs to tell, everybody what's going on, so there's a little lady in Iraq waiting with a plate of cookies when the Marines kick in the door. I'm saying that just being able to trust the words that are coming out of their mouths is very, very vital toward them having a valid reputation. But I don't understand how the country doesn't care that they lie to you and continue to put them in places of power.
I care very much.
because it's the lesser of two evils. I got you. But how do we not have a system where we're running people who are we've got to have more intelligent people than this in the country. They just not want to deal with the political ramifications of getting involved with all that stuff. I mean, I know I don't want to. Whenever
they're questioned on something and their first response, well, I haven't read into that, or they're like, oh, I don't know if that's exactly what they said. I feel like you have to be able to, in certain positions, like a commanding officer for a squadron, right? A commanding officer, you get 2 Marines that go out, get a freaking DUI, get somebody killed, that CO is in a lot of ways is as far removed from that junior Marine as possible, right? You have a sergeant major, you have multiple staff NCOs, hundreds of NCOs.
Well, no. Let's not say that, right? So for those 2 lance corporals, let's say they're in 2 completely different departments of the same squadron. When we're talking squadron, we're talking avionics, right? So those NCOs, each one of them have at least one NCO directly over them, possibly. Those lance corporals have at least one NCO over them, possibly 2 NCOs, right? They have at least one staff sergeant in the division, possibly 2 staff sergeants in the division. And when you're talking about something like this, both NCOs, possibly another junior NCO who's learning how to handle those situations, is also overshadowing everything. So let's do that. So your first multiple is of 3, so you do 6, right? Then your next multiple will be 2 people. 2 staff NCOs if it's staff sergeants or gunnies or whatever it is, right, would be 4. So that's 4. So that's 10 people that directly infect it. And then you probably have an OIC over all of it, right? So that's another 3 plus 4 plus 2. All right. And then you probably have, the sergeant major of the squadron who gets involved in everything, and the XO is going to look at it along with the CO, because the CO is going to make the decision, but the XO is learning from how the CO does everything. So you're talking so many people, 6, 10, 14.
The point of my argument. Well, I'm talking about like a CO that's over a battalion or man. If you want to take it to the squadron level, though, you're absolutely right.
I mean, you're right. On a battalion level, it's even more heads. On a squadron level, it's just those direct 15. It's not like something's directly going to happen to those 15 people, but I guarantee you, all 15 of them had something they'd rather do other than messing with 2 Marines who went out and got DWIs and killed people, or they ended up flipped upside down in the lake by Lake Havasu or anything else, man.
COs get removed.
Yes.
For the actions.
They get removed.
Junior Marines. Yep. In some circumstances. It's not in every, right? But in some circumstances. So the reason I say that is to bring up a point. If we can hold that kind of standard in the military, you do something so egregious that heads have to roll from the top down, right? Why are we not doing that in these individuals with these positions of power over us, right? You hear about these guys getting in trouble, getting DWIs themselves, or cheating on their taxes, whatever the case might be, and they're in there the next day, signing their name on the bill.
Yeah. I think
there is no accountability.
Yeah. Yep. Accountability. So I think I came across this TikTok, 7 C's for success, right? And I think if we apply these 7 C's and make the politicians actually concur to them, we would actually fix our entire system, right? This is obviously not what it was initially meant for, but it's what we're talking about, so I think I'll jump into it, right? So the first C is clarity. Know what you want and why you want it, right? So if they were clear about what they wanted to do and why they wanted to do it, that would definitely be a very, very important step toward getting all these things accomplished, right? The next C would be commitment. Go in all the way, no half measures, right? So if you're trying to do something, put up the bill. Don't be like, well, the bill would get shot down because of this. No. If you put up the bill and we can clearly see who shot down the bill and we agree with the bill, we can clearly see which politicians and what states need to get behind, changing these people's minds or getting these people replaced for something that is as simple as every kid deserves to eat, and I don't think taking food stamps away from all of these single moms is going to fix the problem. They need to eat. I understand maybe taking the chips or the soda pop or different stuff like that off their income stuff like that. That's crazy. Because we have the freedom to buy what we need to buy and do what we need to do, and if you're going to give them an allowance and they want to waste it, that's on them. But that's not here or there. And confidence, trust your skills and your ability. So if we were to elect people who were confident in the fact of doing what they do, as long as we know where they're voting and where they're lying, and they stood up and had this moral fortitude or these moral values, but That's impossible to know about a politician if we were to, because I think imposing term limits would be a good thing. But then again, like if you end up with a really, really solid person who wants to be the politician for a state, and they truly hold up that state's values, as much as you may hate that person as being a politician because you don't like the state they came from and the values they uphold, I don't think term limits, like, I understand some fresh blood, some people understanding it, but once again, that's that state's problem. You know what I mean? Like, you need to get involved locally if you want to change over and put some fresh blood in.
I disagree.
I know you would. Consistency, showing up every day, no excuses. So if we could actually see when they actually go and vote, how many bills they decided not to vote on, how many bills they decided for their department not even to read or mess with, courage to step into the unknown and take calculated risk. I mean, the courage to stand behind what they actually said they're going to do and to try and push and try and do it. Competence and control. But I don't think it's fixable on a political level with the system we have. I think the system we have, that you're supposed to have this amount of chaos so that nobody can just take the ball and run. And it served us, it hasn't served us the best, but the country's still around, the country's still focusing and running. But it goes back to the exact same thing that you said about the two-party system and all these people who just, they tell me this weekend that they're not going too far on vacation because they don't like the price of gas, but they love everything that the president does. So it's like, do you really? Because there's a direct correlation with those two things. So you're saying one thing and doing something else.
Can I say something?
Right.
Can I say something? When you were talking about the C's, all I could think about is colored clarity and carrot.
Anyway, what you got, Chuck?
Oh, that was good.
That is
She's smart. She's smart.
That is a comedic relief. You're correct.
I think, like I said, I like everything that you said. We have to limit those that we give power to, just like we have to limit, our law enforcement, stuff like that. Because the minute we stop holding them accountable for stuff like we have, we've already done it, but the minute we start, I should say, holding them accountable, then you will have change.
Yeah.
When they can no longer feel safe in their roles, like, hey, I got to work for this, I got to earn this every single day. Kind of like going back to the military, right? You had to earn that uniform. You pin on corporal, you pin on sergeant. They tell you got to earn it every single day. If we hold them to that same mentality, yeah, of course, you're gonna, at first we're gonna have a bunch of guys that I don't want to put up with this, BS. I don't want to do this. But the people that remain, and the people that step up after them, are the people that are really gonna want to be there and really affect change. So, it starts with us, getting at the local level, and then moving to the state and to the federal. Because if we really do what we're supposed to do, the way that this is, the states give power to the federal. If we fix it at the bottom, then it works its way up to the top. Because sadly, you can't just elect one person. One person, as great as they may be or she may be, cannot change everything. But if we start at the bottom, it becomes infectious and it works its way up.
Yep, I hear you. I agree completely. You mentioned police, and that would be another place to kind of start with a moral code or something that goes on. The problem is whenever you're in a country this diverse, all the morals are not the same, right? So then whenever you find a place that kind of fits you, it's like looking for a VFW hall. You'll eventually find your group of people to hang out with, or just anywhere, Like, you have to find your group of people that you're going to be able to make a difference with. And sometimes people's morals don't align because, Like, there's different people that enjoy their freedom in their own ways, and they're free to do that. But whenever you mention police, I came across this joke on TikTok, and I think it's hilarious, but you may not like it because I think you're a dog person. But you know why cats don't work with police?
Why?
Oh, no, my bad. Man, I messed that up. That's why cats that's why cats are better than dogs, because cats don't work with the fucking cops.
Wow. I feel like we
now have a moment of silent prayer.
Evil. Sidebar here. Cats are evil.
Yeah. They're evil. They're methodical.
Comrades.
They understand me.
For those missing,
all right, brother. Any final words of wisdom? We have
and
35.
for those held as prisoners of war.
Never trust cat people.
Never trust cat people, huh? All right. Well, Ethos of Silence. We'll be back. We might have a new guest next time.
Wow.